So a couple other pieces of information that I have here. This one's fun, going in and doing the electricity use and the cost of butter. And I already know what kind of font I'm going to use and how I'm going to put this together. So I'm going to copy this over. I'm going to drop this right into here. I'm going to park that there. I'm going to turn on my story here to see where I kind of did it. And wow, I really have not paid attention to where I put my items on the page there. So doing a story, but at least I got my grid structure. So now I've got these items to work with here. I could work with them separately, but I'm going to do here. And I think with this, I'm going to have a little bit of fun because I think this infographic here is going to come down and I'm going to put a little divider in here. I don't go and normally put in solid dividers here. I like to use little dotted lines or things like that. I'm going to show you how to do connectors very soon when we start calling out information where it's going to fit. So I've got the cost of butter right here. And I'm going to change all of this font to Gotham, which I had been using before. And if I was really smart, what I would do is I would go in and choose that. Okay. So there it is, and I need to figure out the butter costs per pound. That's going to be its own title. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to put that right over here and fit that in there. Butter costs. Alrighty. I think I'm going to do my headlines in all caps. And that way it makes it a little bit, per pound over 30 years. Do that. Put return on there. Maybe go ahead and make that a bit bigger. I may actually go in and make this whole thing bigger to kind of fit the entire column, just to make it look a little bit better. I did paragraph type, so you can see when I try to scale the whole thing, it doesn't work. So I'm just going to double click, convert this to point type, and then when I hold down my shift key and I pull, that's going to scale everything right there. And I'm just going to kern to help clean up a little bit of that space. Yep, make that a good color. And I think that's going to become our yellow, I just feel it. Eyedropper tool, go up, yellow, maybe the darker yellow. Yep, there, that's good. Do kind of like a 70% gray there just to see how that's going to work out. Okay, now I want to do a fun little infographic here. What I want to do is I don't want to just do little bars of butter. I'm actually going to do the years, and then I'm going to do kind of like a little swoopy angle thing that comes around, like with my concentric circles. And then they're going to kind of stop at varying lengths here to kind of indicate the dollar amounts. Kind of like I've done over here, but I need to have some fun with this. I'm not going to draw a picture of butter. Sorry. I may go ahead and divide the ends of butter to make it look like a little pad of butter, but I'm doing everything two-dimensionally here, so I'm just going to kind of leave it in the two-dimensional form. I am going to show you how to do some three-dimensional cool stuff using the 3D here because there's some certain things that I just want to show you, but this is what I'm going to do. So how I'm going to work this is I'm going to go and I'm going to draw a circle, and this is going to be my circle is going to come down here, and then the bottom of that circle is then going to come right down here. So it's going to come around just like that, and that's going to have a border on it, and that's going to be my stroke right there. And again, I'm going to put my stroke on the inside of my line because you see as I added my stroke, it went outside the edge of my grid there. So if the stroke is on the inside of the line, the size doesn't change, but the stroke then grows on the inside. Really good point. Okay, so with this now what I want to do is I want to go in and I'm going to do concentric circles because I've got a lot of pricing here, and I think this needs to be less of a stroke simply because of its thickness. All right. So now I want to do concentric circles that are inside each other because I'm going to have 2013, 83, 98, 93, 83 over this. So I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 circles that are going to create these lines. So I'm going to take my scale tool, which I have used before. I'm going to option click in the center, and with my preview turned on, I'm going to try scaling this down, say 85%, and I'm going to see what that does, okay? So, kind of does that. All right, so I think 85%, I'm going to do 80% here. and I'm going to copy it. Okay? Ooh, that's going to work. Okay? Now I'm going to go in there and option click again and do this. And if I do 85% again, or 80% again, you'll see that the spacing isn't quite right because it's that whole mathematical parabolic equation here. So I'm going to do 75%, choose copy, and that's going to work. And I'm going to guess this is 67.5%, choose copy. Boy, I am good. And this is probably going to be 50, I'm going to say 57.5%, and click copy. Nope, a little bit too big, so I'm going to do 52.5%. That's it. Copy. Sweet. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Okay. Well, guess what? We have 2003, 13, 8, 13, 8. We're just going to take that one off. There we go. Didn't have enough room for it. Took it off. That's how I manage data very well, folks. So now I've got all of my strokes, and I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to get rid of all those points. Okay. Oops. Did I take away too much? I sure did. Get rid of those. Get rid of those. And now I've got my little strokes right there. And these strokes are now going to align to the inside. No, that's not that. Won't let me align to the inside here. So I've got to bump this all up so that it fits like so. Okay, so here's my little butter chart right here, and I'm going to have these run so that they're going to come down here. So my years are going to be up here, and my costs are going to come out over here. And I'm going to make that so that it actually fits right there, and I can increase the stroke on these as well so I get the good spacing, and I have to reduce that so it fits right inside the chart. This is going to look cool. Spacing here, I'm going to have to reduce the size a bit because I'm concerned about the spacing when it comes to the spacing between these items and kind of the weight of these. I don't want to have things too close together because the spacing starts to get a little bit too weird. You want to have consistent spacing of things. So I'm looking at overall thickness of the letters and then the space between the objects as well. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click on the end of my line right there, and I'm going to grab my pencil tool, because of course I can just draw my pencil tool right up, and it's going to connect that line right to there. This is one of these cases that I would definitely draw a guide on here, or pay very close attention when you take your pencil tool and draw, that you go and you snap, and for some reason it doesn't want to snap right to that point. And I had a sneaking suspicion about that. So I'm going to select this object and I'm going to snap a guide right to that. So that when I draw these portions right here and I take my pencil tool, then I can draw here and I can touch the guide right there. Perfect. So I'm going to use my command key to select, use my pencil tool as I go, and I forgot to hold my shift key down when I did my pencil tool. Right there. Command key to select, pencil tool with a shift, click on all the way up. Didn't go all the way up there, I'll have to go back and fuss with that one. Pencil tool all the way up to the line right there, beautiful. Back to my direct selection tool, grab that line, snap to, so I have to go beyond it, and then I can snap right to that as well. Okay. That one extends a little bit beyond. What is it with the non-snap to with the guides? Anchor, hold down the shift key, snap. Okay. And of course I got pretty close here, but not close enough. So in this case, I have to pull it further away and then snap it because the snap to likes to snap right back into its original position. So here's butter costs over the years. And you can see the kind of chart that I'm starting to work with here. Now, again, I don't know how long each and every one of these is going to be. So my scientific method, I'm just going to draw a container that is going to be 3.13 millimeters long. I don't care how high, you know, 1/4 of an inch. And there's that one. And then, actually, I'm going to draw that not 3.13. I'm going to do it 313 millimeters. That draws it really long. And I'm going to keep drawing these. And so the next one's going to be 292 millimeters. Got that, okay. I line these all up. And this is going to determine my lengths of my lines and therefore my prices. Wow, 330 millimeters. That was a long butter back in 2003. And then my other two sections right here, my 205 and my 198. So 205 millimeters, not inches. And then my 198 millimeters right there. Okay, great. I'm going to select all these items, align them all to their left edges right there. I can distribute everything right through there. And then I can go and I can truncate all of these like so, and they're all going to be in proportion because I don't care really how long they are. I just want to make sure everything's proportionate right there. So now I can control where those are going to fall, and maybe my little lines and callouts are going to come right here. So that's great. Now I've kind of got the sense of where these things are going to fall when they come out of my lines here, and I can now go in and park my numbers in here really well. And so with this, I'm just going to drag this down. I know where my stopping points are with every single one. So I'm going to use my connector tool right there. I can use my pencil tool, drag right out. And I'm going to bring it out right to that one. Go to my direct selection tool again. And then the pencil tool, that one's going to be dragged out to that one. You can see ultra precision. I'll line these up. And then the third one is going to come out, and that's going to go a little bit further there. Beautiful. Fourth one, going to go in, pencil tool, and that one's going to be much shorter. That one's going to fall right about there. And then direct selection tool, and that one's going to fall right about there. Probably a little bit longer, nonetheless. Okay. Yep, wrong arrow. Cool. So there's my little chart that I've just created with concentric circles and all of my lengths right here, of which I can then just go line up, and I can see just how far off I am with each one. And if I bring those to the back, there it is. Grab that. I can bring in that intersects with that one. That one intersects with that one. Great. That one with that one. And then I know that my values are just where they need to be. Snap to it. Come on, got to pull past it, and then go back to it. Okay. Beautiful. That was a little bit long, but I'm going to select those. And of course, I can deselect these, which then get rid of it. Cool. There's my lines. There's my chart. I'm going to select all of these because I need to make it a buttery color. Absolutely. I can turn these into a path if I want to. Don't really need to at this point. So I'm just going to leave them like this. And it's 24 point because when I go in and take my eyedropper tool and I sample the color here, it's going to want to fill them in, convert them back to that, and it needs to be made 24 point again. There we have it. So there's my butter costs over the years. Now this is going to look quite delicious, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I thought so. I really need a headline for this one too. And I think that's where we're going to need to do something because it kind of needs a little header, just like this one has. And this, I think, the per pound over 30 years is going to go away. And I am going to put it into a separate container right here. And that's going to tuck in very nicely right there to look nice and tidy and fill that space quite well. Price per pound over 30 years. Okay, that looks good. The butter costs may go like that. Increase the size of that, cut down the leading, tighten it up kind of nicely. Do that as well, and maybe this gets bigger to kind of fill in that, and then increase the point size as well. Reduce the size of that. Okay, and now I may have to move that down. So all that information is going to fit. I'm going to put that right there for now so it stays within that. And I can move those all down in a bit if I so choose, like so. Down my shift key, sweet. There we go, like that. And this can go down too, and it can't be this dark either. So it needs to be a much lighter gray or a much lighter yellow on there. Beautiful. I like it a lot. Now the prices here are going to go at this end because I want to go ahead and call them out here, and then my years are going to go right through here. So I've got my call outs here for my years. I'm actually going to copy this because I'm going to get rid of all my years and just do my prices. And one of the things I want to do with my prices here is I actually want to do a series of call outs because I want to show you how to do call outs here. And it makes sense to just run the prices right off the ends here of each and every one of the lines like so. But if we go in and we actually put the price at the very end of our line here and put equal spacing there, then all of the prices are going to be staggered with the ends of the lines here. So I could either go in here and I could put the prices all right in the middle of my objects here so we could see, you know, what's going on over time, which is kind of boring because it doesn't really show the distance there. Or I can go in and I can actually put the prices and do like little connector lines. Sometimes the connector lines are fun because they actually connect right to the butter. And I think because the way this is done and I want to have a little bit of fun with the butter here, I'm actually going to take each one of these out of the text container and put it in their own little object right here. And I can put this right here at the very end like that. And I think we're just going to go in and I'm just going to put a little pat of butter at the end. So I'm going to draw my little container here, same height as that, keep that, use my eyedropper tool, select that, boom. There's the color, and I'm just going to put a little pat of butter at the end there. Okay? Who knows? Going to try it. So this next one's going to be $2.92. So I'm just going to type that in, $2.92. And then I can copy this and put that little pat of butter at the end there as well to kind of call it out. Kind of puts it in there nicely. I don't want to draw lines. You know, if I go through here and I draw a line from here, it's so awful to go ahead and connect stuff like this. I'm just going to make it a black line to make a visual reference there. You start putting lines in here and it just totally detracts from what it is that you're trying to do. And it's like you got all those connector lines. You put this in here and it kind of calls everything together. We can do connector lines, but I'm going to do connector lines that are fun because we're going to need to point out certain things. I think when we do our electrical use right here, we could do a pie chart, but we could also go in and we're going to do a pie chart on this, but we're going to have the numbers coming off the pie chart. And we're not going to go ahead and just do, you know, little pointers coming off the pie chart here. We're going to do awesome pointers following that grid structure. Okay? So as I'm going through and doing this, do we have any comments or anything in the chat room?
Well, let's take a look, shall we?
Yes, indeed.
All right. So let's see. Apathy often uses photos and infographics and looking for tips and tricks on how to keep it clean. Sort of that clean look that you're going with now. Mm-hmm. Is that something you would ever use, or like maybe photography on white backgrounds, just real simple things, Jason? Or do you try to keep it?
I generally don't use it in here because I don't know if I would consider myself a purist. It's just a particular look that I go for. And when you start introducing photography in there, you can. But you have to make sure the photography is extremely consistent through everything. And it also is going to complement the look and the feel. You can use it, by all means. It's just that that adds yet another level that you really have to pay attention to, and it could be complicated.
Okay.
But sure, you can use it.
And then it says, do you have a good source for data sets? I'm particularly interested in the cost of college education over the past 30 years.
There's nothing like the internet.
Okay.
Usually the data is provided to me by my clients. So I don't really go through and hunt down the data by any means, but there are companies out there that will go ahead and do the statistics for you and get all that information. That's not something that I do because stats are something that I think have numbers in them, and I am not a numbers person.
Okay. And then Cayenne would like to know, one of our regulars, when drawing those lines out of the curve, why did you use the pencil tool rather than the pen tool? Is it a personal preference, or does the pencil do something better than the pen?
No, I was doing two things. I was proving a point that I wasn't going to use the pen tool when I didn't need to, but I was also using the new feature in the pencil tool.
Cool.
So would I have used the pen tool? Absolutely. But I didn't want to become too much of a hypocrite because when I said I wasn't going to use the pen tool. Would I have used the pen tool? Absolutely. But thanks for asking.
So Howdy2D would like to know, when creating graphics, do you align to pixel grid to account for pixel perfect design? Can you align to, is there a align to pixel grid in Illustrator?
There is. And aligning to the pixel grid is when you go into your view menu and you have your guides here. You can show the grid on the page, and the grid is going to be, you can see the grid right there, and you can see the actual grid on the page. That's fine. The biggest problem that I have with that is when you're trying to line up copy or when you're trying to line up stroked objects, they're going to snap to that grid. And in some cases, you know, I may not want it to snap to that grid. It's a personal preference. I use the overall grid to lay my stuff out, and I basically snap everything within that box inside the grid or a set of columns or rows here. I don't get down to the actual snap to grid feature. You can if you want to. It's not how I do it.
Okay.
So, but that doesn't mean that I know what I'm doing.
Is there such a thing as, and this is from Cupcake Stylist, is there such a thing as infographic being too big, too small, too many steps, too little steps?
It's all a matter of how you're telling the story. Different people have different ways to tell the stories. Every graphic designer has a different look and feel to what they're doing. Over the years, I have always had a particular look and feel. And no matter what I do, I always end up with very much the same looking graphic over all those years. So it's kind of interesting. So I don't know how to answer that one.
Okay.
Really?
And Katrina is Hungry would like to know, how do you go about charging for an infographic, especially if you're not 100% how complicated it's going to be before you start the process?
I think with any design that when you start off, it's always hard to gauge what you're going to do. If the client gives you an accurate representation of what it is that they want, can show you examples of what's been done before, what the outcome is, and you have the good data, make sure you look through the data and you can understand it, understand what they want, I think you can price accordingly. You can understand of how long it's going to take to build this module times 10, times 20, and you can get a pretty good idea. Of course, if you go in there and don't get all the questions answered, or the client's going to change things, it's kind of difficult if the client comes back in and says, hey, could you change this? It's like, well, yeah, I have to rebuild it. There is no real quick and easy way to change this little butter cost thing. I mean, I had to build it this way and it was purpose built. So definitely try some of this stuff, figure out what it is that you're comfortable with, and ask all the questions you possibly can about expectations so that you don't get burned in the end.
Great, thank you. I think we're good to roll.
Okay. So there's my little butter cost section right there. And I've got my dates right here and the prices over all the years and how things have, done and gone. And, you could throw a little slice of bread in there if you really wanted to make it fun to fill that little space. And, yeah, who knows? It's always something fun. Okay, and if you want to create a slice of bread, which I know you want to create a slice of bread, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to create my little bread. Oops. I'm going to do a rounded corner bread, so I'm going to increase the rounded corner there. There's my little slice of bread, keep it square. Top really doesn't matter because I'm going to go ahead and put my bread on there. And how I'm going to do the top bread is I'm going to go in and I'm going to roundy the top like so. Go like that, and then I can go in and I can merge those two together. There's my piece of bread. There it be. That's how you create bread. And if you really want to make it bread, then of course you can just simply swap it and you get all crust and no bread, so it's all crusty. Get a nice piece of toast right there, And then you can slap a little pat of butter in there, but I actually like the filled like that. And then if you really want to make it crazy, then you go in and you make a little square right there. You make it white, or you make it buttery. Actually, I'm just going to use my lighter color butter to make it nice and subtle. And then I'm going to just do it like crazy, and I'm going to throw it at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to throw it on the bread there. There we go. So there's the cost of butter right there. Actually, I'll lighten that up just a touch right there. There we go. Maybe my bread needs to be brown, like I've chosen up here. So take my eyedropper tool and do that. You know, that can work. Right there, there's my little butter. And you know, I think I'm gonna have to cheat this, folks. I'm actually going to have to turn this at a 22.5-degree angle, just for fun, and put it asymmetrically on there. There it is. There's my toast. There's my bread. Why not? Have fun with it. And I actually, you know, this brown here, I'm actually liking that color for the butter cost right there. And I'm going to pick that up right there. Ooh, yeah, that calls it out nicely. And you know, I think all this black right here doesn't need to be black. I think that can be brown too. Yep, much better. Sweet. Sweet butter. There's the cost of butter over time. Nice little infographic. Sure would be boring if we just did sticks of butter going all the way up.